Paul, as much as investing is about the X's and O's, the numbers, we consistently fight adversaries of ours on YouTube, or at least we're brought up as these stingy old people that just don't get it. So many comments, Paul, about not getting. And this with the barrage of growth companies, the pre-revenue companies, many of which have a market cap more than 100-year-old companies.
That do a lot more revenue. And so you brought up an analogy recently, which is very near and dear to my heart. And in essence, you know, when you're betting money, or investing, quote unquote, is you're making a bet almost, right? I mean,
because
there's no guarantee.
There's risk, there's no guarantee, and you have to work on probability of things happening, predicting the future. It's a very, very tough game. It's scary. It scares a lot of our people in our community. Hesitation, there's fear, there's uncertainty, there's doubt as to what's going to happen. But you brought up recently the idea of playing poker. And I love this analogy you brought up about poker and how it equates to investing. What are your thoughts on this?
So first off, guys, follow us on Instagram. We really appreciate that. So I'm an avid chess player. Seth has tried to get me into poker. I only play because we have a good time. I like his friends. We have a good time shooting the shit. I'm not a good poker player for some reason. I think I know why. I don't understand the odds yet.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But I love the analogy of poker, and here's why. For those who don't know, in poker, in a typical poker, you're sitting there, you get two cards face down. Everybody gets two cards face down. You know what you have. And then you flip three cards for the pool for everybody, then flip two more. It's flip one more, then one more. Your job is to make a bet based on what you have and what's on the table, and you don't know what anybody else has. That's the exact same thing as in investing. Why is that? Your two cards is the analogy of the historical financials of a company. You know what's already there. Okay, I know what's already happened. The two cards and also the five cards in the middle. The two cards that are hidden for everybody else, that's the future. We don't know the future. We will never know the future. If we always knew the future, if anybody here ever knew the future, you'd be the best investor ever. Why? Because you could sit there and determine, okay, if I pay $1 for this and it's going to generate me $10 in the future, I'm going to do very well. But we don't know that.
Biff Tannen was a hell of a gambler.
Yes, he was. Because he went back in time, got that almanac, which was the best decision ever.
Sports almanac, yeah.
That was great, wasn't it?
Keep going.
I want everybody to look at investing as a bunch of bets. Even though we don't like to say it's betting, it really is. And The Psychology of Money, which is a great book that we're reading, part of our book club.
Right here, Paul, The Psychology of Money. Yeah, great book.
Great book. Talks about something very important. If you do an investment and it doesn't make money, but you thought it had an 80% chance of making money and 20% chance of losing, a lot of people would say, oh, you're a bad investor if it lost money. Well, no, you just got the 120%. That's why whenever people thank me for my investment decision, I'll go home with time out. Mm-hmm. Thank me over long periods of time. Because over long periods of time, if you're right on that 80% versus 20%, guess what? If you make 100 investments, 80 will do well, 20 will suck.
That's absolutely true, Paul. You brought up the idea of, our software, the financials we look at, the old FUDs that we are looking at just the past financials of a company. These are the two cards in front of you, and they might be really, really great. Aces or kings.
What is the worst possible two cards in front of you that you could get dealt to you?
2-7 offsuit.
Okay, yeah. 2 of diamonds and a 7 of, what's the easiest one to do?
A spade.
Hearts.
A heart, there you go.
Right? That's the worst possible thing. Now, if we went back in time and God came down and said, I'm going to show you every time a person had this, would they lose every time?
No, they'd certainly, you're right. They would flop a full house and kill everybody.
Now, the hype guys out there are the guys who say, look, I was right, because there will be stretches where you win a couple of those in a row. But the point about investing isn't about the one-offs. The point about it, what's the best possible thing you can be dealt?
Of course, aces or kings. But it is aces, of course.
Aces of...
Either one, yeah.
Hearts and what, anything?
No, anything, yeah, anything. They're all the same.
Are you going to win every hand that you're dealt like this?
You can get cracked by 2-7 all the time.
Because if all of a sudden a 2-7, somebody has a 2-7, and the flop is 2-2-7, who's winning this one?
Great show from the 80s, by the way.
Great show. The flop is the first 3 cards that come out.
Yeah.
So if you have this, and your opponent has this, before the first cards are shown, Who's here more likely to win?
It's not even a chance. Yeah, they can't come back.
Well, it is a chance. And guess what? All of a sudden, 227 pops up. Who's going to win that hand pretty much?
Yeah. The percentages change. And
now, if you have these three cards that pop up, you know, you want to watch poker on ESPN. It'll say, what does it say the chance of this person winning? Probably 99%.
Yeah.
Guess what happens? 2 more cards pop up. Ace and ace. Who's winning that hand?
Of course, quads.
That's the point, guys. We don't know the future. Anything can happen. But if you play this,
you're right,
the same way every single time, over thousands and thousands and thousands of hands, you are going to make a lot of money holding this.
And
you're going to lose a lot of money holding this.
The best players in the world, when they go all in on 2 aces and get cracked by a crappy hand on TV, they're not mad about it. They're going to do the same damn thing the next time they sit down.
And that's what makes a great process. Mo will talk about this with his chart reading. Mo, have you always, when you follow your chart process, do you always make money?
No.
Of course not.
It's impossible.
Correct. But when you follow it over long periods of time, do you make money?
Yeah, you do very well.
Absolutely. Same thing with value investing. Same thing with any sort of process. It can't always work. That is what makes systems. Somebody said this to me the other day. The reason systems work is because people deviate from systems. That's why they work. Because the people who stick with it are the ones that do well. Is it frustrating? I'm a value investor. I get made fun of on the internet for not making a lot of money in stocks for the last 5 years.
Pretty much every video, yeah.
Guess what? 5 years? Drop in the bucket. That's nothing.
Compared to how many years?
I got 60 more years to go. You think I'm worried about 5 years? Not at all. Because guess what? In real estate, all the people making fun of me in 05 and 06 were the people I was buying real estate from in 08 and 09 and killing it. Literally killing it from the people. I was buying from people half the prices they paid 3 or 4 years earlier for the same real estate. I had a process. Now, could the people who bought in 05 and 06 do well? Of course they could. I was reading today, what's his name? Bill Ackman.
Yeah.
You know he started betting against mortgages in 02?
Yes. I mean, that book Confidence Game,
yeah.
That's what it's about.
02 he started betting against. So he was the guy at the table with pocket aces, what he thought were with pocket aces, and he just kept a bad run for 5 years.
Yep.
He kept losing to 2 sevens. Or not even 2 sevens. He kept losing to, 10-9. He kept losing to all these worse hands, and guess what? He still stuck with it. Why? Because he's like, with pocket aces, I will win over the long run.
Look at what Michael Burry does.
Yes.
Same thing.
Michael Burry was down 25% in his bets against mortgages, and his investors hated him. But the reason we have to look at it is anybody, by the way, I don't care what you play. If you play chess, I always tell people, let's say in chess, if you're a chess player, if you lost a piece early, if you played 1,000 games where you're down a piece, are you gonna lose every single one of them? No, you're gonna win some. But at the end of the day, would you rather have that piece or not have that piece?
I mean, speaking to the people who are in our Everything Money community, I know it might, if you're me, which I'm trying to be you in terms of bringing questions to Paul, is like, this feels like a lonely role because every other channel keeps on saying you should be chasing these amazing stocks. There's no way they can. Many of which are down this year, Paul. We did a video on NEO.
Well, then my comment back to them would be like, well, great. If they're down based on your same assumptions that recently they did well, so therefore you should buy them, then you should sell them now. But you would sit there, but you're not going to sit there and say, well, no, I'm buying the dip. Okay, so wait a second. What matters is fundamentals, but when you're sitting there using recency bias initially, the stocks are up, therefore it's doing well. But then when the recency bias goes against you, you try to convince yourself of the exact opposite. For me, all I care about is my fundamentals. And the fundamentals, I remember a banker at one of the biggest banks in the world, when I loved stocks in 09, he said to me, you're the only good call I have because I love stocks. 5-6 years later, when stocks were getting overpriced, I wasn't buying. He's like, Paul, but just in 09, you love stocks. And I was just like, Dave, your valuations have totally changed. The information has totally changed. And this is a banker. He handles multi-billionaire families' monies. And he didn't understand the difference between valuations. And that's what made me go, I'm onto something here. Because this guy's in charge of managing billions of dollars for wealthy people. And he didn't get the difference between stocks selling for 9 times earnings versus stocks selling for 20 times earnings. He didn't see the difference there.
Yeah, so in the end, this is a mindset thing. If you could sit a robot down, if you could sit a robot down to play poker, to play blackjack, and to probably bet stocks on your rules, Mo.
Really, like the success in life is just having a mindset and a discipline and sticking to it. It doesn't matter. We can talk about a million topics right now. It's all going to come back to the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do it every single day. Mo does it with his chart. In fact, the most successful guys in the Bid and Ask Nation for Mo, when you ask them why you do it, I just stick to the rules. Mm-hmm. I just stick to the rules. They have 700. You know, it's funny. The Turtle Trader book, they only had 20 people in that Turtle Trader, and only one person followed the rules exactly. We have 750 people in the Bid and Ask Nation. So yes, we have 4 or 5, probably more than that, people who just follow the rules exactly. If you follow the rules and you use discipline, and you have the discipline and the confidence inside to say, you know, Seth, I've loved watching you play poker because you sit there, you run the numbers, and you go, you got me. That's the way you should look at stocks.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I bought this on the right fundamentals. It got me.
I did what I was supposed to do when I was supposed to do it, and that has helped me to win. And other times you're just going to lose. You got to get up from the table,
and you can't worry about that.
Yeah.
You just go, okay.
You know, we have a flashy friend that plays very flashy on the table, and it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
It looks like he's having a great time. And sometimes you look very foolish, like in these years, Paul, where we're not buying in this overvalued market. But in the end, you know, that flashiness almost translates to the flashiness of his life. You know what I mean? It's like, in the end, this isn't really fun, Paul. I mean, being so disciplined and a rule follower is not that fun.
No, it's not, because we all want to be emotional and fun and all that stuff.
But now that I say it out loud, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's not fun. But going to Mexico is. I mean,
that's the thing. What do you want? More fun trading? We want a really awesome retirement because you made hella bank on your investments over decades of time.
I say that because the boys are co-owners of a few Caribbean houses, and so that's the ultimate fun, you know. So I sort of know it pays off in the long run, but boy, is it chugging through these hard times is I can't.
That's why you need to be around.
The only reason it seems hard is because everybody around you is doing the opposite of you.
Of course.
Now. That's why when reading these books helps you and being around people that are like-minded.
And that's why being in our Discord community, which you can join with the link below, that's why it's nice, because everybody there has a discipline. They've been gravitating towards us, and it just makes more sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good analogy. We want you to make safer bets, conservative bets, and while weighing your downside risk is sort of the whole point of the show, and that is not happening on other shows where they're telling you to buy these high flyers, companies that literally, Paul, they don't even have a product quite yet, and valuations just off the charts. It's quite a time we live in. It's different this time. Yep.
The 4 most dangerous words in investing.
Well, I read another book, and they said the 8 most dangerous words is...
The 4 most dangerous words.
Was it this book? It was this book, right?
It might have been that book. It might have been Richard Wise or Happier. I don't remember. It was one of the books, but it's funny. It's like, you started going from that. It's like, okay. To me, that was an indication of the times, but go ahead.
I guess if you're wrong and stupid, Paul, you're still going to play the same game.
Because it makes sense to me. I remember I was once teaching a high school class about investing. I like to do that at my old high school. And somebody raised their hand, this girl, and she was funny because I remember one day asking her, I'm like, do you have a family in investing? She's like, no. I'm like, you ask really amazing questions. Anyway, she said to me, she raised her hand, she goes, so Paul, what if valuations never go down? I go, then I never buy. And everybody started laughing. They're like, come on. I'm like, well, yeah, never buy. Like, you'll never. I'm like, no, it has to make sense to me. I'd rather sit on cash and have my 8 or 9 businesses upstairs, have my real estate portfolio, and I'll figure out ways. I'm doing momentum trading. I'll figure out ways to make money. That's the point. I don't have to sit there and chase anything. I can just sit there and wait for the pitches, for the right pitch to come across my plate, and I will hit it out of the park.
Yeah, so Paul, in the end, let's keep making those safe bets, and we can help you. You join everythingmoney.com below and get on our team. It's not a fun ride at the moment, but when everything comes crashing down, just wait. We will be having a blast on this show, Paul. So that's our take. Final thumbs up on the way out. See you in the Discord. Talk to you soon.